Right, when it comes to SILT presentation, now my setup is a little bit controversial to what everyone else tends to use because of the lead arrangement. Now, most of the time you'll associate fishing over SILT with helicopter styled lead setups. Now, I like to use that exactly there. That is a lead clip setup, which you might be thinking you're absolutely mad. And then when it gets onto the actual rig itself, that is a fluorocarbon as well, fairly stiff fluorocarbon. And again, you're probably thinking, why on earth would you chuck that out? Now, reasons being is I've seen this setup in a very silty underwater situation where we couldn't actually film on the SILT. I was out with Rob Hughes. We were doing an underwater answers and he'd set the cameras up in an area that was way too silty and we were casting into a square box on the bottom. Some of you may remember it or not. Now, before he moved the cameras, I chucked that exact setup there out into the box and got him to photograph it for me. And when he got back to the bank, couldn't believe his eyes how good the presentation was. What had actually happened was the 4-ounce lead that I'm using plugged right into the SILT and dragged the main line down in with it. Now, the stiff fluorocarbon, that was all masked, and the only bit that you could see sticking up out of the SILT perfectly was the hook section. Now, the fluorocarbon side of things as well is not only is it obviously dragged into the SILT, it is mega invisible even if it wasn't all dragged in. Now, some of the braids that you might use over the top of SILT they stick out like a beacon, honestly. In my eyes, you'll never ever beat fluorocarbon for invisibility. So that is why I like to use that sort of setup. Fluorocarbon will tell you exactly what is going on with your lead setup. When you take the hook bait off, you can see exactly how that rig's been sitting over the SILT. Again, another good reason for using fluorocarbon is if you take the hook bait off, lay the rig down on your leg, you can see that the lead setup's been dragged in and there's a slight kink about 2 inches along the hook link there, and you can see the rest of the hook link has been sat lying flat. So when it comes to using a bottom bait or a wafter on top of SILT, I like to use a fairly long rig, around about 12 inches. And then when it comes to the pop-up setup, 7 or 8 inches, absolutely perfect. And as you can see there, lying on, you can tell exactly how that's been sat on the bottom of the lake bed. And that's why I like using that style of presentation.